Hey guys, Mike Volkan here with tennisracket.me, where you can find your perfect racket in under 30 seconds using our online algorithm. Now, let's talk about lead tape, the facts, the myths, how to use it, and how the pros use it to customize their racket. First of all, lead tape is so important to add to your racket if you want to customize it that extra 5 or even 10%. A lot of times when you buy rackets right off the shelf, it doesn't quite suit your game. It might get you 90% of the way there, but that extra 10 or 5% will be by customizing it through other means, such as lead tape. This is what lead tape looks like if you were to apply it to your racket. So this is what lead tape looks like if you want to buy it from the store. So there's 1/4 inch, there's 1/2 inch types of lead tape. I'd recommend the 1/4 inch, just so you don't have to cut it lengthwise in half. It gets a little bit of a hassle. But most of the pros use lead tape, customize their racket, and you should too. However, I do not have lead tape in my racket, as you can see right now, because I'm just coming off an elbow injury. Normally I do. If you have a history of arm injuries, especially the elbow, you kind of want to lay off lead tape because it does add some extra stress to your arm. So let's talk about adding lead tape to the butt of the racket, the handle first. A lot of players do this, especially doubles players, because it adds some maneuverability of the racket, especially at the net. What you want to do is add it on the inside of the butt cap here. A lot of times butt caps like this one will screw right open, and you can add lead tape right in there. I've even seen people put fishing lures stuffed with cotton in there to add even more weight. So experiment with that a little bit if you feel like you want some more maneuverability at the net. So in terms of the racket face, let's picture the racket as a big clock. In order to get the benefits out of lead tape, you want to add it to the inside of both sides of the grommet. That's a big mistake I see with a lot of players. They'll just add it to one side of the grommet and not the other side on the inside of the strings here. When you do that, you create an imbalance in your racket, and you'll notice it when you hit it. But a lot of people that first apply lead tapes typically don't notice that. You want to add it equally to both sides, typically in 1 to 3 inch strips. Stick it right on the inside of the racket. Now, where do you put it on the inside of the racket? Let's talk about that. To add the most swing weight and heft to your racket, you want to add it to the very top inside of the grommets, both sides here. Now what that'll do, since your energy is the force that's creating the motion behind the rackets, that'll create the appearance of the most heft and give you the most power. However, that will also add to that much less maneuverability to your racket. You're really going to feel it, even with a small 1 inch strip on both sides of the racket. You're really going to feel it immediately when you swing your racket, how harder it is to move your racket through that stroke. Now, if you want to add power but not have that much heft to the top of your racket, you can add some to the 10 and 2 o'clock positions here. Just like you're driving with a steering wheel, 10 and 2 o'clock. Both sides of the racket, small 1 inch strip. Okay, what that'll do is that'll add heft to the racket, but not so dramatic to where it's at the top of the grommet. Okay, you can try that. What I do is I add tape to the 3 and 9 o'clock positions. That adds stability. A lot of times I'll play power players that hit the ball a lot harder than me, and when I go to hit the ball back, it kind of makes my racket shudder from side to side, which obviously produces flyaways. A lot of times my forehands will hit the fence sometimes when I really get a powerful shot hit to me. Adding lead tape to those positions adds a lot of stability to your racket and a little bit of heft, just enough to provide that extra power you need and stability to your racket. It'll reduce a lot of this back and forth when you go and swing the racket. Now, if you want some more maneuverability but you don't like the feel of it being in the butt of your racket, you can try some down here on both sides, just above the 6 o'clock positions. You'll notice that produces a little bit more heft and solid volleys when you're at the net. So give that a try. Be sure to add it to both sides of the racket. That's a big mistake I see a lot of players use, and just experiment with it. Sometimes you might think that a 1 inch strip won't be enough to make a difference, so add 3 inch strips to both sides. Okay, you really want to experiment. In fact, if you have 2 of the same rackets, what's great is if you add some to the top, the 12 o'clock position, and then add some to the 3 and 9 o'clock position, and just hit 10, 20 balls with each racket, you'll notice immediately the difference of the swing weight and the difference of the solid hit just by having the small amount of lead tape in both of those positions. Now, a lot of players ask me how the pros customize their racket. Typically I like to say, it doesn't really matter how they customize their racket, but I understand a lot of people like to buy clothing that the pros wear and rackets that the pros play with, and customize their rackets like the pros. It'll be wrong for you, but I'll tell you how Nadal does it. Nadal adds some lead tape to the butt of his racket for some more maneuverability, but he also adds some lead tape to the very top up here at the 12 o'clock position. So if that helps you out, that's what the pros do.